Shows Gilda Radner sitting in a middle seat on an airplane. John Belushi, wearing a mask, walks down the aisle and sits next to Radner on her left side. Belushi. Hello, I'm Mike. Radner. Hi, Mike, I'm Sue. Belushi. Well, Sue, that's what I'd like to do to this airline, for its lack of diversity. Radner. Ah. Belushi. Did you notice there are hardly any people of color on this flight? Radner. I didn't notice. Belushi. Didn't notice? You're not one of those Trump supporters, are you? Radner. What? No, I just said I didn't happen to notice the amount of diversity on the plane. Jan Hooks walks down the aisle as a stewardess. Belushi. Oh, stewardess. Why are there not more people of color on this plane? Hooks. Well, I guess because they didn't buy a ticket. As Hooks continues walking, Belushi turns to Radner and says, and whose fault is that? Did you know under the Trump administration there were less people of color buying plane tickets than under the last several previous administrations? I mean, more people of color were flying under Truman than under Trump. Radner. Chris Farley, wearing a MAGA cap, walks down the aisle and sits next to Radner's right side. Farley. Hey, fellow patriots. Who's ready to enjoy the beaches of Florida and enjoy a red state? Belushi. Don't call me a patriot, you right-wing nut. The connotations of such make the assumption that I'm a Trump supporter. And there's plenty of blue in Florida in the cities. Farley. My bad, sir. I just figured that as a white male you wanted to make America great again. Belushi. I'm part of the proud 40% of white males that voted out that maniacal dictator last election. Farley. Oh, so you went with Sleepy Joe then, huh? How are you enjoying that inflation? Belushi. Inflation would have happened either way. It was based on the Federal Reserve, and Joe Biden respects separation of powers. Farley. Whatever, Lib. Farley looks at Radner and asks, who did you vote for, sweetheart? Radner. Belushi. Come on, honey. Show me you're one of the good ones. Farley. No, Toots. Show me you're one of the good ones. Radner. Farley. What's the matter, miss? Cat got your tongue? Belushi. You're afraid that this MAGA oaf is going to snap at you if you come clean, isn't that right? Radner. Farley. That's not true. She's just afraid you're going to spaz out when you find out she doesn't drink your liberal Kool-Aid. Radner. Actually, I didn't vote. Belushi. You didn't vote? What's the matter with you? Farley. Yeah, no shit. A good American like you not voting. No wonder Trump lost. Radner. I didn't vote because I hate both sides. Belushi. Excuse me? Radner. Both sides are full of blowhards. I can't stand election season, and we still have time before 2024. Can you both just shut the hell up before I have to panic every day during the next election cycle? Farley. Sweetie, the future of the country's at stake. Belushi. Exactly. Radner. I honestly don't feel things were all that different for my everyday life when things shifted from Bush to Obama, from Obama to Trump, or from Trump to Biden. But I feel like partisan hacks trying to make it seem like the world changes drastically every time there's a switch. And that just hasn't been my experience. Belushi. Man, and I thought MAGAs were nuts. Farley. Right? And here I thought Libby Lou's were the problem. But instead it's apathetic non-voters who refuse to pick a side. Radner. If I had to pick, I'd just say, dead from the earth, we're not alive! It's Saturday Not Alive, starring John Belushi, Chris Farley, Phil Hartman, Jan Hooks, Norm MacDonald, Gilda Radner, Denitra Vance, and with many other special deceased contributors. Musical guest, Gil Scott-Herron. and your host, Richard Belzer. Everybody, Richard Belzer. Applause, applause, applause. Belzer. Hey, deadbeats. I'm sorry if you wanted Jimmy Carter, but instead you got me, Richard Belzer. But I'll tell you, it's something that I'm the one hosting. Jimmy Carter was put in a hospice. Richard Gere is recovering from pneumonia. And Tom Sizemore is in critical condition after a brain aneurysm. Plus, Keith Richard exists. So despite hospice, pneumonia, a brain aneurysm, and Keith Richard's existence, it is I, Richard Belzer, that is I. Now, in the 70s, I was the warm-up comedian for Saturday Night Live. Made a couple of guest appearances on the show, but that audience was living. So I'm not sure I can warm up your cold, dead bodies. Anyway, I was also a featured player on the National Lampoon Radio Hour with co-stars John Belushi, Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, Gilda Radner, and Harold Ramis. It was a half-hour comedy program aired on 600-plus U.S. stations from 1973 to 1975. But besides being a comedian, I was perhaps best known for playing Detective John Munch, whom I portrayed in the shows Homicide, Life on the Street, and Law and Order SVU, as well as guest appearances on many other series. Applause, applause, applause. Belzer. And Munch, much like myself, was a conspiracy theorist. Now, I'd like to delve into that more, but I've been told that this show is already on thin ice. After getting 2 episodes banned from YouTube, for getting conspiratorial about a certain disease that has run rampant the last couple of years. No, I'm not talking about Joe Biden, but instead COVID. Or for those who get offended if jokes aren't woke, no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump, but instead COVID. So I'm going to avoid any disease-fueled grassy knolls. Belzer looks backstage and asks, "Can I talk about the Ohio train crash?" Nope. Okay, looks like they want me to avoid that too. So no talk about a magic bullet caused the crash there. John F. Kennedy comes out. Applause, applause, applause. Kennedy. So, how'd you die, Richard? Belzer. Complications of unspecified circulatory and respiratory conditions. Kennedy. Unspecified, huh? That's nonsense. It was a conspiracy. You were going to de-escalate things in Vietnam. So the man with the umbrella was the cue for 3 sets of assassins to triangulate shots on you. Belzer. No way, that's crazy. It was just complications from circulatory and respiratory conditions. Kennedy. Yeah, right. Anyway, what were your last words? Belzer. Fuck you, motherfucker. Kennedy. Excuse me? Belzer. No, those were my last words. Fuck you, motherfucker. Kennedy. Well, sounds like the last words of someone conspiratorially assassinated. Belzer. JFK, what a conspiracy nut. Anyway, we have a great show tonight. Gil Scott-Herron is here, so as this show is audio only, the revolution will not be televised. We'll be right back.